Hello and welcome. I'm Tafarag Damum. The Recha Festival was held this past weekend. What is it really, culturally speaking, and how best could it be utilized to meet various demands? My guest today, Dr. Gutu Tesso, has done a bit of research on that topic. A very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We had Recha just this past week. I've been a few days ago. It is 4 or 5 days ago. Celebrated Recha on Saturday in Addis Ababa and on Sunday in Bishoftu. And of course, in days ahead, there will be several other locations that would be hosting the Recha, right? It is. You call it a Thanksgiving event, right?
Yes. Recha, from its origin, it's one of, or even you can call it the first biggest African Thanksgiving ceremony, whereby the Oromos in Ethiopia and even the Oromos in Kenya, the Konso people and even the Gedio people normally celebrate every year. And the essence is that as you go through the heavy rainy seasons, all the marsh, the agricultural activities, and all the challenges that one faces during the rainy season, and then you go through that and come to the bright September, what you do is you normally go and then give thanks God for the rain, thanks God for the vegetation cover, feed for the animals, and all the abundant harvest, even for the rain you got through the seasons. And then you do a prayer for the next season, because the next season is going to be a sunny season. That's when you're going for bulk of your harvest, and it is really a thanksgiving to Waka. Oromo believes in one Waka. It says there is a Waka that is the creator of every living things and non-living things. And so at the Recha Festival, you carry with you some of all those blessings that you've enjoyed, and then give praise to God for the abundance of the green you've received, the health, and even for the livestock and for all the other creatures.
So it's a connection in a way to nature, and through that to the Waka. Is that correct?
Exactly. It is you see, in Oromo worldview of nature, it believes Oromo is connected to the nature around itself. It's believed that it's connected to God. So you really feel responsible for all the living creature around you. And according to the Oromo cosmology, for example, you say there is a human being, there is a physical world, and there is a spiritual world that is organized and that is interconnected. And in this process, the human beings are there to sustain all the nature around itself and also to maintain the equilibrium. So it's in a way it is the connection between man, between human being, and also the nature around it.
Sustaining nature, is that correct?
Yeah, it's all about sustaining nature. One of the fundamentals, for example, Recha, as one of the institution of Gada, is you will be measured by the extent to which you have protected the natural environment. The mountains needs to be covered by forest, your rivers needs to be protected, your lakes needs to be protected, even the beasts of the world or the animals in the forest needs to be protected, or your livestock will be protected. And one of the most surprising, all those thousands years ago, within the Gada system, you have the laws, customary laws, norms, values in how to protect all this natural environment. And as such, unless and otherwise you are permitted, you can never go out to cut a tree. You can never go out or even take your livestock for grazing. There is always a rules and a regulation.
Is that why we have the ark everywhere in the region?
Exactly. And then that is how within the landscape where Oromo has lived for long has been protected from being degraded, deforested, and also depleted of all the natural resource base. But that is not being the case here in the 90s and the 21st century, because all the values of the Gada, which used to give a high priority for the protection of the natural environment, over the years has gone out. The Gada system is weakened by the different regime that has come all over. Yeah.
For the benefit of our audience, when you talk about the Gada system, you're talking about the most sophisticated age-set system that we have, right?
Exactly. You see, the Gada system is now we call it like an intangible cultural heritage, but it is unparalleled democratic governance system within which you have the political office, the military office, the economy, the social, and even the religious. So within the Gada system, as a system of democratic governance, you have a term which you rule, because within the Gada you have 5 Gadas, and the one of the Gada would only rule for 8 years, and there is no competition, there is no extension of power by any means. One term of Gada completes, the next Gada will take over in a very democratic way. So it's a political democratic system in nature. It has a good governance system, a governance not only for the people, for the nature, for the neighbors, and even with the relationship within the cosmos. It has also the religious office, we call the Wakafata, which now you can come to the Irecha and how the manifestation of the Gada system's religion is portrayed. So, and also you have also the cultural part of the Gada system, which basically focuses on the facilitation of coexistence within the different parts of the society.
And of course of balance as well.
Yes, maintaining the balance. And for instance, there could be a war, it could be a fight, and there is always a system within the Gada on how to subsidize all those conflicts and create a cultural integration. Where you might have heard or been living with, like the Gutu Tesso and the Mogafacha. Gutu Tesso is one of the social integration whereby a person or a family will adopt a girl or a boy. It could be an Oromo or it could be non-Oromo. And then you bring up as your own kids, and then has the full rights of your biological son. And then you have also Mugafacha, which basically deals with when you conquer a particular community, say because of war. The next thing you do is not going for retaliation, it's not going for eviction. What you do is you give a clan to that community, and they give an equal right to all other Oromo clans. Even as such, that community can choose the clan it wants to align with, and then they have the full rights of any Oromo. So it has, this just to me, it has also a social part of the democratic system within the Gada.
So, well, coming back to Irecha, has it been codified in a way? Has it been structured in a written form? Has it been preserved in that way? Because it is largely an oral a experiment, if you will.
Yeah, you see, the challenge with the Irecha festival over years is, you see, for example, 130 or 40 years ago, it was abandoned not to be celebrated in Addis Ababa or in Bishoftu and even its environment. And then it took us 130 or 40 years even to hold the first Irecha festival back in Horaf and Finne. So it means the focus to document, to articulate it, even to modernize it, and then show how cultural heritage hasn't been there. However, you will find an extensive studies here and there that has been documented, and how it has really crossed over years and coming to its current form. But again, those are also scanty, and then it really takes to bring it into a bigger shape, probably as we go forward. Otherwise, you will find literatures, but the large part of it is, like you said, is an oral. Of course, what makes it intangible cultural heritage is that it has been passing to generation through oral transmission of messages or the stories, the laws, all of the system within it. Yeah.
How seriously has it been affected? I mean, that festival in the last several years by modernization, by new inputs from the outside world, and so on. How organic, if you will, has it stayed?
Or
otherwise?
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, it needs one to see the context within which it has evolved, especially over the last 100 years. You see, this Irecha, in one way or another, was like demonized. It was like, what do you call it? All forms of
pagans on the road.
Exactly.
Believe in trees.
Negative things were attached to it. And so, what took much of us, look, as I think, what took much of the way it has evolved is because people want to bring it back, much more than like protecting its traditional system. There are so many reflections that were brought into the Irecha. You might remember a few years ago at Hora Arsade, there was like a tragedy we've seen. Why? You see, Irecha is used as a platform where the Oromo peoples reflect their thoughts, their minds, their resistance, their wills and ambitions. And those things makes Irecha not to be like solely the Irecha ceremony per se, but also you want to reflect your identity into it, your culture into it, your religion into it, even your political philosophy into it. Why? It's because that is used to be the only platform where people from all walk of life come together, meet each other, share Oromuma, and then reflect. That is why. Otherwise,
so are you saying that it's constantly evolving?
Exactly, it's constantly evolving. But what I believe is, as things get the right shape, Irecha will definitely take its traditional shape.
What will be the right shape?
Yeah, the right shape is, you see, Irecha is a symbol of peace, for one thing. And then it will no more be like a platform where you demonstrate your resistance or whatever. Irecha is it's a spirit of reconciliation, whereby if you have any grudge, if you have any conflict with anyone, you can't go through Irecha festival without settling your dispute. Irecha is where you give thanks to Waka only for the abundance, for the blessing, for whatever the Lord or God you think has done it for you. So that particular nature of Irecha would definitely be restored as all the political spheres or the social stigmatizations and everything settles down. I think we would get back to the origin, and it would serve the original purpose it used to serve as we go forward.
Right. So when is it celebrated normally? No, the biggest event happens when? In this month? When is it? In September? Through the autumn?
Yeah, exactly. The biggest event is always in September, since it's you see, when you turn the page of history, the celebration started in the months of September. When the heavy rain season gets over, the river starts to subsidize, and then people can cross from one village to another, or their livestock can cross from one village to the other. That's really the September. And then but again, it's not only in September. You see, there are basically two seasons, the spring and the autumn. The other one is, you see, like the one in September is when the rainy season gets over. That's where you celebrate, and then you see the green nature of all your valleys and mountains. And then the other one is an Irecha of the mountain, we call it. That is when the sunny season is to get over, and then you are moving to the rainy season. And then you say you give thanks for all the sunny, the harvest, the trade, and all you have exercised.
That would be in March, right?
Exactly, in March. And then you pray for the next rainy season. So it's basically in the spring and an autumn, like you said, and it's twice every year. But again, it also depends on the geographic location, because rainy season is not the same across all Oromia and across even all Ethiopia. But people, if you go to the Borana and if you go to like Wolaga, the timing might slightly be different. But it is literally be attached with the blessings, the gifts, and the seasonal changes that you go through.
So traditionally, Irecha has been celebrated largely in Bishoftu, primarily, right? And where else?
Yes, Irecha is celebrated in...
of course, in Addis Ababa, as you said, 150 years later, that started last year.
Exactly.
Then,
You see, Irecha celebration was completely abandoned during some of the past regime, but during the current regime, it was restored in 1992, around 1991 or 92, through the effort that's been made by an association called Macha and Tulama. When that is being restored, the grand celebration is usually in Bishoftu, Hora Arsade, but it is normally celebrated all across Oromia. You find it in Ilubabur, you find it in Jimma, you find it in Borana and Guji in Hararge. You see, there are places of celebration in different parts of Oromia, in the even different parts of Ethiopia. But the grand one is basically with Hora Arsade. And that, of course, goes with the Gada System, where the General Assembly and the different Gadas come together and then they hold their gumis over a matter of Oromia and over a matter of the next phase of the leadership. Yeah.
And it's not only Oromos who are celebrating this, there are also from other ethnicities, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Joining the whole crowd.
Yes, you see...
particularly in the last few years.
Yes, in the last few years, Recha is not only about Oromo. It's all... You see, if the definition, after all, is all about the praise and the thank you give to Waka, it is up to all the human nature. Who needs to give thanks to the Creator? So even at Hora Arsade, you find whites and black people. You find different ethnic groups from all over Ethiopia coming to Hora Arsade. Even you find people from Walaita, from Hadia, Sidama, Amhara, Tigray. And as such, it is not an exclusive festival. So you see, the type of ceremony that normally takes place in Recha also takes place in Konso, because the Konso do have also a Recha. It's also there in Gedio. You will find it also in Kenya, like I said. And the other, yes, and then the other ethnic groups, if you take Hadia, even take Sidama, they have also a much more similar events of like, which they mark the start of the new year. And these tells you, in one way or another, we share common values, we share common history, and the culture.
So there is some economic return out of this. There is so much tourism going on, right?
Yeah, you see...
Or is it not as you would expect it to be?
Yeah. You see, Recha could have been the powerhouse of the Ethiopian economy in a variety of ways. You see, when you think of Recha, the first thing that comes to your mind is green nature, land reclamation, restoration, vegetation, afforestation. That's the thing that comes to your mind, because without regreening, without maintaining your forest, your mountains, bare mountains, dry rivers, you can't think of Recha. What does this imply then? It tells that you need to take care of all your landscape. You take care of your landscape, but agriculture production and the productivity restores. Livestock population increases. And then the agricultural economy, whether it's a crop or a livestock, would definitely rise. Even all the other forest products, non-timber forest products are there, which you can use for domestic consumption or export. So within the agricultural system, you can think Recha can significantly contribute. The other is you can think Recha as a trade corridor. That's normally, whenever I think of Recha, the potential trade corridor you can create. For example, if Hora Finfinne, where we celebrate Recha, is taken, and then you can think of the road that takes from Finfinne to Bishoftu. You can create a trade corridor for a week or a month, where there would be bazaar, where there would be like a trade phase, or music festivals and whatever. That would really involve the hotel, the transport, people from different businesses can get involved. That's one. The other is Recha can serve as a tourist attraction. You know, we know millions of Ethiopians live all around the world. And Recha could be made like where people visit every year for the different colorful celebrations, joining their families, doing the reconciliation, portray the restoration of peace, and then they come from all over the world. And then in terms of tourist attractions, there is a lot you can make it.
But has it sufficiently been promoted?
That is the greatest challenge we are having at the moment. You know, Recha has been under-promoted over years. You see, all the foreign currency deficit we are facing at this particular time in Ethiopia would have been covered from the Recha festival alone.
Really?
I tell you. And then, for example, if you manage to bring only 100,000 Ethiopians and non-Ethiopians for the different Recha for Hora Finfinne, Hora Arsade, or even the one in Burayu and elsewhere. Sum it up. You can make it in the west, in the east, in the south, in the north. And then the summation throughout the year, if you manage to bring only 100,000 people who would potentially spend $5,000 only, it's more than 5 billion American dollar you can.
Well, that's a very interesting idea. But when do you think would that be feasible? Not in the near future, of course.
You see,
can you imagine if 100,000 Ethiopians come descending in Addis Ababa, Finfinne, and in Bishoftu?
That can be possible even next year.
Really?
I tell you. Because, however, it takes the commitment of the government, the commitment of all the players, the stakeholders. People who are engaged in like tourism, would they do the promotion activity? Would they set up all the facilities that it requires? Would the government show the political willingness to mobilize people from all over the world to visit Ethiopia and avail all the spaces, the logistics, the securities, and everything? Would the business community really dedicate themselves in terms of promoting Eritrea and then at least come up with innovative business that would attract thousands to come from all over the world?
And then who should take the lead in terms of bringing aboard this innovative means of attracting people from abroad? Who do you think should take the lead?
At least for this first round, the government. That is the most organized, that's the most resourceful. And you see, when you think of Eritrea, there is also a political piece in it. And until those things got sorted out, probably government would be the lead player. And then afterwards, it could be like the business community. It could be the Abagadas. It could be even the Eritrea forum holders, or what do you call the Eritrea convention leaders, whatever you can establish. They can take over, privatize it, make it business, and then it can go by itself. But at least until it touches the ground and start rooted, the government should take the lion's share.
I hope they will. Thank you very much, Dr. Gutu. It's really a pleasure having you on my show.
Thank you so much.